Welcome to UNSECURITY, FRSecure's weekly radio show where we take an inside look at hacking, breaches, best practices, and all things you need to know to improve your information security practices. Here's your host, CEO Evan Francine.
Welcome back. This is episode 59 of the UNSECURITY podcast. I'm your host this week, Brad Nye. Today is December 23rd, and joining me is my co-host, Evan Francine. Good morning, Evan.
Good morning, Brad. How are you?
Good. So, full transparency, we have a guest in studio, so we're using a different setup, and it feels really weird not to have the headphones on.
Yeah. We took a selfie.
Yeah.
You going to introduce our guest?
Yeah.
Because he's just sitting here. He's not going to say anything to us, Sam.
So, in-studio guest is FRSecure and SecurityStudio President John Harmon. Good morning, John.
Good morning, it is.
He enunciates well.
So I was told I needed to with this whole mic situation. I'm not allowed to mumble or say things under my breath because it'll catch everything, right?
Yes.
No mumbling.
No mumbling. All right. So before we dive in, we like to have a check-in. So, John, how are you? How was your week? What do you expect this week?
You know, it was really good. I'm a big fan of this time of year, the Christmas season, and my house is decorated and everybody's happy. We've been driving ourselves crazy getting all the shopping done. We had some family come in yesterday, so that's really exciting. It's always a good reason to clean the house, if nothing else. So I'm doing great.
Good.
Your wife's sister is coming in town. She already
my brother-in-law. Yeah, they came in last night.
Your brother-in-law is here too?
Yeah.
Were you expecting that?
Yes.
Okay.
Surprise!
Well, and they know each other because we introduced them. So he's a good friend of mine from way back. We used to work together and everything. So great to see him.
That's cool.
Very good. How about you, Evan? How you been?
I've been well. What did I do? We had the ECMAC thing last week. That was really nice.
That was cool, yeah.
A lot of school people there. It was their security summit, their second annual security summit. That was pretty fun.
It was the East Central Minnesota Education Consortium.
Cable Consortium?
Something or other. There's always the C's in there.
Add extra.
It's like 6 letters.
Yeah.
And then kids came over on Saturday. We celebrated Christmas, opened up gifts. I made Busty the snowman. I showed you a picture of Busty. Everybody should make a Busty the snowman.
Yeah. I like how you're, there's so many snowmen out there, and you took it to a different place. You made it, you made some gender equality happen right there in the front yard, and I commend you for that.
Hey, no discrimination here. Not for this guy. How about you, Brad? How was your week?
Good. Got a lot done. Kind of, trying to wind down and get everything done so we can take it easy and get people a chance to recharge over the holidays and hit the ground running in January.
Yeah. Do you have a busy week, you guys?
No.
From a work perspective,
yeah,
I got tons of stuff to do.
We're
from the lovely and long-suffering Mrs. Harmon and I are heading to Montana on Wednesday to see my family. So we'll be there for a week.
Wednesday.
And,
that'll be nice.
It'll be good to, be somewhere else while I'm doing all this work too, just unwinding and getting to see everybody and catching up on a bunch of stuff. So,
yeah, it's funny. You said, do you have a lot? And my immediate thought is no, because I don't have a ton of meetings. And I'm like, no, I actually get to focus on one thing for more than 20 minutes at a time.
Yeah, there's that whole back burner thing.
Yeah.
It gets pulled right to the front burner when you don't have meetings
on
your calendar all day, every day.
But I'm excited to work on that stuff. That's not really work at that point. That's
the fun stuff.
That's fun, yeah. So, all right. Well, so kind of ending the year, you guys finished up the roadshow a couple weeks ago now. 2 weeks. Well, last week was your first week back. So I thought it'd be fun to have
Does ECMAC count as the roadshow?
Yeah, I'd say so. We're still evangelizing the mission, right?
Yeah, I got to write something then. All right.
Okay, so now you're officially done.
Yeah.
No barbecue, though. That was kind of a bummer. We did eat copious amounts of beef jerky, though.
Is there? Oh, my God. My birthday last week, so everybody bought me meat. You bought me meat. My kids bought me meat. And then we celebrated Christmas on Saturday. Got more meat. The guy, our personal banker at FRSecure/SecurityStudio, he must have come in while we were at ECMAC. He brought me meat. Everybody brought me meat. I got so much damn meat. And so when you eat so much meat, because it's all cured with salt and everything.
Oh, yeah.
I've been drinking gallons of water. I'm so out of balance. Yeah, but no barbecue. Is there even any barbecue up in Braham?
Oh, man, I don't know. There's got to be some up there. We just didn't look hard enough. We were kind of in and out.
I'm going to smoke a ham for Christmas.
Just stop into somebody's
really?
house.
Oh, it's so good.
I've never done that. It just seems like very intimidating.
You'll never eat ham any other way.
Well, I love smoked ham. I've just never done one myself.
What day?
It's so easy.
What day?
I'm doing it for Christmas at home, but I might be convinced next week to bring in the smoker one day.
Christmas is
do one for everyone who comes in.
All right. So
spiced apricot glaze.
Probably don't want me to publish your address.
No. You know where it is. You're welcome to stop by.
Oh, you heard it. I can
You
stop
ready?
by. Did you see the shirt that his wife got me?
Yeah, I did. You guys got matching shirts now?
Yeah,
Yes.
people can't see it online, but yeah, it's pretty sweet.
That's what I do. I grow a beard and I know things.
Yes.
Yeah.
Takes it right down to the core, the fundamentals,
Beards and knowing things. We all have beards.
the governing dynamics.
Should we make that a rule that if you want to be a guest on the show, you have to have a beard?
I don't know if Renee would like that very much. She wants to come on the show again.
She can tape one on.
She could. We have a Santa beard now. We have
Yeah,
a Santa suit.
Just to wear
anybody.
the Santa beard. If you don't have your own beard, you have to wear the Santa beard on.
We will provide a beard for you.
Oh man! All right, so since you guys are done, figured kind of a fun way to almost wrap up the year is asking some questions about the roadshow. So didn't put all the questions in the notes because
you said you had some surprise ones.
I had to have some fun.
What's the fun of that, right?
Yeah, some surprise questions.
So
what color underwear are you?
No, not that.
I was going to say, before we even get started, boxer briefs.
Yeah. No, first question.
Always boxers.
First question.
Yeah.
I'm going to throw you guys off. Question that everybody wants to know is, was the roadshow really just a extensive ploy to get you to travel around the country trying different barbecue?
Yes.
Okay. There you go.
There's no other way you can get a tax write-off for barbecues.
It was an expensive tax write-off, but it was hell of fun.
There you go. So everyone wondering, there you go. That's the answer. No.
What did we end up doing? Like 28 barbecue joints?
28 barbecue joints. Yeah. Over 10 weeks.
Yeah.
That's a lot of barbecue.
It was a lot of barbecue, but there was some really good stuff there.
Well, and so, being back in town now, last Monday, so we got back from Dallas where we had Pecan Lodge again on Friday, Friday before last, and then on Monday I came back, had lunch with Chad Spoden from our team, and guess where we went?
Pecan Lodge.
No.
I wish.
Okay.
No, I went to Baker's Ribs. We went to barbecue again. So ask me if I'm sick of barbecue.
No.
I am very much not sick of barbecue.
Yeah. So we had a reason though an actual reason for going on the road show.
Yeah. So what was the actual reason?
Well, for me, and you might have a different answer because I don't know if we, were explicit and wrote it down or anything. But for me, it was to get out on the road, to preach this unity message around information security, around getting people to speak the same language, to work together. So for me, it was preaching and learning. I mean, I learned a ton of things from a ton of different people from all over the country. That's what it was for me. How about you?
Yeah, I think from a pure business standpoint, I think, we have an obscene amount of brain power in this building at any given time. And we have these ideas, and we started this software company, and we know that there's a use case for it. We know there's a there, but we have to get other people's input, right? That was a part of making the tool free. That was a part of getting it out there in the community, trying to build this whole thing. And it was really interesting for me to go out while you were preaching and hear all the questions and talk to everybody. And whether it was a one-on-one meeting or at the presentations themselves, it was like, are we crazy? Are we taking crazy pills, or is this like really what we think it can be? And we learned like right away, very early on, that yes, this is exactly what we thought it could be, and it's more. We're getting all this feedback and all this wonderful direction from the community that we've built so far, and I'm excited to see it grow even further. But we can't do that alone, so we got a lot of believers on the way too that are helping us out and everything. I think that was as much the point as just spreading the message, is getting validation that our message is welcome and that it's actually going to do some good.
It went so fast. I mean, you think of, it started in October in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, talking at B-Sides, and that seems like it was like yesterday. Remember we took a selfie in front of the state capitol?
Yep.
It's like, made a lot of good memories too. That was fun.
Yeah, we never got sick of each other, really.
Mm-mm.
I mean, it was another concern. Maybe was can Evan and I be together this long and this much, and we had a great time.
Well, that's where all the barbecue comes in.
Right.
You gotta have that common.
It makes us docile and impressionable when we're full on barbecue.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm still not. And what security is, for people who don't know, what SecurityStudio does and what we have is a platform that we created that really focuses on the fundamentals of information security. So, what's a fundamental risk assessment? I think people you can always find flaws in everything, right? So if you're looking for the perfect risk assessment, keep looking. You'll never find it. That doesn't exist. What it is it's a nice, solid, fundamental risk assessment that we started at FRSecure, and we've done thousands of times, right? And customers like it. We like it. So it was taking this tool, bringing it out on the road, getting other people to look at it, use it, give us input, all that kind of stuff.
So that's a good kind of segue here. So when you were out on the road, who did you meet? What was the audience? Was it technical? Was it C-level? Was it compliance?
Well, I think we intentionally went to a lot of ISSA chapter meetings, B-Sides, ISACA, ISC Squared. Though we went to our people, we went to the security community, knowing that we would get probably the richest feedback from them, and they would understand some of the fundamental kind of undercurrents of what we were doing. But along the way, you meet people from every walk of life. Honestly, my favorite thing that have come out of this, and you guys are really focusing on this with the podcast in 2020, is all the people in our industry that are in transition, that are looking to maybe break into the industry, they're trying to figure out what their place is and where they should go, and kind of getting experience and networking and all that kind of stuff. So I'm excited to see you guys do some of those interviews and work with some of these people, because that was some of like another mission, along with the mission. Like, we can be connectors in that way. Mm-hmm. That was really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Most of the people were security people. Okay. But like John said, along the way, because one of the things I would ask in every time I preached, and I think we ended up giving like 30 talks, something like that, over the course of something like that. There was just a ton of talking. And I'm an introvert, so every time I talked, I just got exhausted. I wanted to go back to the hotel and go to bed. But I always started somewhere in the talk, I'd always ask, how many of you are security people, and then watch how many people raise their hands. And I'd say 70-ish% of people were probably security people. But yeah, we went there because we wanted their feedback. We wanted validation that this is actually a legit thing, a legit tool.
Mm-hmm. So what was the maybe the one piece of feedback that really stuck out to you? Is there anything like it could be a theme that you heard, or one person said something that you're just like, whoa?
For me, and understanding too that I'm not, coming from the same place you guys are. Like, I'm not a security expert. I didn't come up. I'm more the business end of things. Mm-hmm. But hearing the feedback and seeing this undercurrent of everybody's looking for perfection.
Speaking of business end of things, after all that meat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Business end.
Business end.
Sorry.
Constantly.
My bad.
No, but seeing the, you said this is a fundamental risk assessment, and everybody's wrapped around the axle trying to find something with no flaws. And one of the principal, philosophies is something insecure at its core will always be insecure, and you're not getting the fundamentals correctly. So why are you wrapped around the axle trying to get these, higher thought, higher level, functions of security implemented when you don't have the basics of policy and governance? You haven't decided who's even responsible for information security, and here we are talking about AI and blockchain, and you have to use this methodology or that. It's like, even people who've been in this business for tens of years sometimes are way off base, and that was a big shock to me. I thought that would be a tougher road to hoe with the business people that I was meeting, and they got it right away. They're like, well, of course you got to start with the basics. And it was the super advanced professionals that had these aha moments like, whoa, I thought you guys might have been here already with the basics, but you're not.
Yeah.
So it was cool to kind of bring that back home. It was good, fun watching him work.
It is surprising the number of companies and individuals that go, well, we need to have this maturity assessment and radar, and you don't even know what you have.
I know.
Why are you worried about some? Yeah.
Well, it's interesting how many people, everybody, I mean, almost everybody is out in the audience nodding their heads, right? From the biggest groups to the smallest groups. Everybody agrees.
Yeah.
Everybody agrees, yeah, this is what information security is. Yes, we've all taken it for granted in terms of just the definition of information security. And yes, we need to focus on the fundamentals. And yes, we need to do risk assessments. And yes, 90% of organizations aren't doing risk assessments. Yes. But then you don't see them do anything. Right? So I think nobody likes to do risk assessments, but maybe you can... Maybe it's a frame of mind, because you can't build a security program without one. And it's just funny how everybody agrees. Sometimes you just want to wring their neck. You know what I mean? It's like, you understand what I'm saying and you get it, then do it. You're getting paid $80, $90, $100, $150,000 a year to run security at your organization, and you're not doing the fundamentals.
Yeah.
Well, and it was amazing too. Those same people are nodding their heads like, "Oh yeah, the basics, rah. This is awesome." Hey, Evan, what do you think about this latest blockchain solution that this company
right.
came out with that does all this stuff? And it's just like, well, do you know how many endpoints you have on your network? Well, no, but we're thinking about blockchain, so. What? Wait.
But AI, yeah.
It does have machine learning, so we're good.
Thank God.
Yeah.
All would be lost without that.
So that was the frustrating part. I think if you go into these things with expectations of that's why, we kind of both went into it, I think John and I, with kind of an open mind. We did have set goals. We wanted to get 30 partner leads, because we do want to partner too, right? This is meant to be a community effort. So, getting people involved, working with our tool. I mean, it's not even a sale, really, because what ends up happening is it's a revenue generator. If you're an information security consulting company and you're doing assessments in any variety of different ways, this is a way to do an assessment cheaper, with better quality, faster, higher margin. I mean, it's just it's a revenue generator.
Right.
For them.
Well, and it gives you a roadmap or an action plan of what they need to do.
Yeah.
And now you can say,
oh yeah, which feeds right into the whole managed services agreement. And it was, people that have come before us have really done us, I think, a disservice, because you can tell people something is free and they think there's some kind of catch to it, right? Or, we're looking for partners. And then people think, well, what are you trying to sell me? It's like, I'm not trying to sell you anything, right? I want you to, yes, there's a fee, but it's a revenue generator, right? It's just, people are I think very skeptical. I think people have been burned a lot, so that was kind of sad.
When they're used to the alternative method, this isn't theoretical. We know it works, right? Thousands of these in the ecosystem, and we built an entire services company off of this. We know it works. We know there's margin in it, right? And we could have kept it to ourselves and scaled and hired every assessor and pillaged everybody we possibly could and went national and kept it all private and proprietary. And instead, we're giving it away. We're saying, look, just help us cover our costs, and you take this margin, you build this practice, you figure out how to connect the dots. We don't know everything. Come partner with us. And still to kind of get that side of the eye, but what's the catch? This can't be possibly this good. It's we're just driven by different things, I think. And sometimes you get those reactions, and it's and not calling anybody out. It's a reflection of how they operate. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where it's just I wouldn't do this. That would be a bad business decision, right? I wouldn't give my margin away to somebody else. I would build this and take full advantage of it. So why are you doing that? It's well, hey, don't put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby. We're just trying to do the right thing here,
Right. Well, I mean, how many small to mid-sized businesses are there in the U.S.? 3.5, 4 million.
On the 20 to 1,000, 3.1 million.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's no way we could do all of them.
Right.
That's the other thing that people don't get.
Well, that's another thing you see in our industries is, nobody disputes the number. I'm surprised how many times people didn't ask for some citation in terms of like when I give them numbers, like, where'd you get those numbers? Because truly, I just sort of estimated that 90% of that 3.1 million isn't doing risk assessments based on, 25 years of experience, working with those types of companies. And so let's just say that that's true. We're all fighting, like the security consulting companies, we're all fighting for tripping over each other, bashing each other for 10% of the market. Whereas if we can, maybe if we join together, we could go out and get the other 90% that's just sitting there like,
not aware.
Yeah, just like, frustrates me. So I'm hoping we made some progress in that. I mean, we'll see.
Yeah, I've had some really good conversations with those on that 90%, as well, for one reason or another, have kind of come across my desk and, maybe it was a near miss or some kind of problem with, potential incident or, they heard it at a conference or whatever and somehow snaked their way to my phone and they're like, hey, what do we do? What would your suggestion be? I'm like, you do a fundamental baseline security risk assessment, figure out where you're at, and then you can figure out where you're going.
Right.
And they're like, well, how do we get started on that? It's like, they don't have any resources for this because we're all infighting all the time. There's nobody out reaching out to that community.
Yeah, I mean, and coming, still relatively newer to the consulting side, right? There wasn't anything even, 3 years ago.
Right.
You had the NIST CSF, but it doesn't really give you a good way to assess it, right? Are you doing this? You can go through it, but it's not. So, okay, well, now what? What's my action off of this?
Yeah.
So, there's just not a lot out there.
Well, it was funny. You were on the phone on Friday when we were talking to Mike. Who might come and work as a channel partner manager for us. And he's been in our industry for quite a while and seen a lot of things. And as we were talking, he was like, yeah, there's no competition for you. Meaning the way we do our risk assessments, the way we make it available for everybody, the way we partner, the way we're trying to get that 90%. I don't really care about the 10%. They're already doing risk assessments, right?
Yeah.
They're probably getting some security correct.
Well, and
the other get these other ones.
Other thing I've heard is we've gone against big national companies, and our assessment comes in like half, maybe 2/3 of the cost. And like, well, why aren't you charging more? And the answer is easy. If I charge you all the money that you have to tell you what's wrong, how are you going to fix anything? Like we know. Like so, we know what our margins are. We know where we need to be. Why are we going to overcharge? It doesn't advance the mission. And
exactly right.
And they're like, you can hear their brain explode on the other side as they're trying to process this.
It's so like anti-capitalist, but you said it's a great, mantra. It's like if money's the point, you'll never make the mission.
Yeah.
But if you make the mission the point, that'll make the money.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, they're like, well, and then they required their analysts to fly first class because it was all this stuff. I'm like, well, just send a short analyst if it's a long flight.
Right. We'll send what, a shorter?
A shorter analyst. If it's a long flight, it's no big deal. We'll just send a short person. We're not going to charge you for first class for an assessment, really?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
It's and in the age of, there's a lot of consolidation, happening in our industry right now. And I get asked a lot too, like, well, who are your competitors? What's your biggest competition? Like as FRSecure anyway, as a consulting company. And in my time here, 7 years, I've seen 3 of our most direct competitors that I've seen here, at least in our 5-state area locally. They're not even in the market anymore.
Yeah.
Right. So what is my biggest competition? Inaction.
Yeah.
Doing nothing.
Well, and that's what happened, right? They quit moving forward. They had what they had and they were happy with it, and that was the end of it.
Yeah, it's people who are looking at this giant thing that they know they're supposed to be doing something with and saying it's either too costly or too complicated and they do nothing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny, even companies that do, like I was talking to one company on the roadshow and they do risk assessments. And so I said, well, then you should have a good, tell me the state of your security program. He's like, what do you mean? What's the state of it? Because it's relative, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, well, we don't really have a state. I'm like I can tell you how I think you should do it, right? You need to have some scoring. You need to have something in place where you can say, our security program is if you use the CMMI, it's a 3.5.
Yeah, at least have something.
Right. If you use, the SecurityStudio's, S2org, it's, we're 622. Something. But that's how you can communicate your state. So then you automatically know sort of where you're at. And people got it, but I don't think people like to do work. I don't think people like to do risk assessments.
Well, it's not sexy.
But I think also there's a misconception of a risk assessment versus an audit.
Right.
So I think a lot of people hear that and go, oh,
cringe.
Audit. Oh, I'm going to have to. But that's not what it is.
Well, even audits, right? I mean, there's different kinds of audits. When I was a CISO, there were some audits I hated. And there were some audits I was actually looking forward to. Usually the ones that were internally driven, I could use, to identify things to make my program better, right? If it's an external audit where it's just, to find the gotchas and...
Yeah. Well, but I think that's what a lot of people still...
Yeah.
And I still hear that a lot, too, of, the last audit we had, time out. This is not an audit.
Yeah.
This is an assessment to help you identify strengths and weaknesses, understand where should you be focusing your
I wonder how many people actually want to know the truth. I think a lot of people don't want to know the truth. Because we've heard that on the Roadshow too. Like, I don't want to know because then I have to do something. It's like, that's kind of a stupid logic, really, right?
Yeah, that's gross.
Yeah.
The only thing I can think of...
Why don't you tell your customers that?
Yeah, right. The only reason I could think of not wanting to know it from I'm also...
Can you imagine telling your customers that? Sorry. We don't want to know how poorly we're protecting your information because then we'd have to do something about it. But truly, it's their information, isn't it?
And that wasn't that Equifax's defense?
No.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Well, they missed a patch. I can cut them some slack. Yeah.
That was a joke.
We're getting all stirred up now.
I know. No, the only thing I can think of is how frustrating and it is to say to the business, "Hey, these are the issues," and then getting no support. Right. So maybe that's the next piece: is how do we provide better actionable business decisions out of that result, right? I think the scoring really helps with that in terms of making it easy for a business to understand, hey, your risk score is a 450. Right. Your credit score is a 450. Where are you at? We got to do something.
Yeah, we're so data poor in our industry, though. I mean, when we get to the point where you can actually do like quantitative risk analysis, like your score is this, therefore your monetary exposure is that. That's kind of the holy grail, I guess, for ROI from a business standpoint. But at the end of the day, too, just because you don't understand something doesn't mean you shouldn't care about it.
Sure.
Right. So, I think there's work to do on both ends. I think boards and executive teams have been very cavalier about this and they've had the wrong expectations. They're not understanding this, and their excuse generally is, well, I just don't understand computers. I'm not a computer guy. It's like, well, watch a YouTube video. You know what I mean? Get up to speed a little bit, and then I'll tell your IT and security people to take a few notes on how to communicate up a little bit. Yeah. We need to meet in the middle on this.
Well, so much of it is lip service, right? I mean, if you ask any executive, any board, hey, is security important to you? Would any of them tell you no? Yet look at the actions. What have you done?
What budget do they give?
What's the state of your security program? Who's responsible? Those basic fundamental things are missing. So you'll say it, but then it's not backed up by action. I'm trying to figure out what the legitimate excuse is for the 90% of organizations that aren't doing risk assessments. Do they think that there's a better way, or there is a way to build a security program without one? I don't know.
Yeah, they just assume it won't happen to me, right? That's the biggest one. I think
such a false.
I think 9 times out of 10 it's a false sense of security. They assume that somebody somewhere has them covered.
Hey, we spent X amount on blinky lights. We're good.
Yeah, or we're all in the cloud, or I work with a managed service provider, or I have insurance, or whatever it is. Yeah. It's just there's not enough depth and understanding. I don't think yet.
Yeah.
Right. Next question. Anyone in particular you met that really just stood out to you?
There are a lot. On the bad side, there was the guy from Sacramento. Remember him? Yeah. Did I tell you about that?
Yes.
Well, for the listeners, I was giving a talk in Sacramento, and there was this guy who just had to add something every time. You just always had to add something, right? To your talk, to something you were saying, and then it got to the point where I think it just really started to frustrate me, and I was probably 20 minutes behind.
Yeah.
In timing, and so he said, "Can I just add something?" And I'm like, "What? That you're the smartest person in the room?" And then the room just went quiet. That's so awkward. That was awesome. I totally won't do it again, but
yeah, it's always good to kind of shut the heckler down a little bit.
Yeah, it was that was weird. That was a weird day.
He was an egotist and an academic.
Yeah, there's people that exactly, that feel like they're the smartest in the room and have to let you know are the worst.
Right.
Yeah, I think on the other side, John Ross from Dallas.
Yeah, he was.
That awesome. Was just a guy that we met at the thing and took an interest in what we're doing. That was at the ISC2 event. We revisited him last Friday.
Yeah, cool.
Brought a bunch of people to lunch and just kind of helped us, network and interface and get some feedback and everything. The Dallas crew in general. I mean, JP down there.
Yeah.
Maria from Vitech.
Yeah. How many times did we end up?
3
in Dallas?
times.
3?
Yeah. They were very welcome. They were great. We did that ICI event with Michael Schindler and that group there. Did the ISC2 event, and then we just did another one, smaller one, but we did a similar kind of thing, and that was all really good. There was a lot of good people. Some of them were just frankly, the people behind the counter at the barbecue restaurants that you just talk to and you get to know and find out it's a family-owned restaurant, and Grandpa started it, and Dad's still around, and Son's working the pit now, and there was some cool stuff there. But stands out to me maybe it's because we've been there a bunch and keep getting invited back. But the Dallas crew.
But that's
Also, that's where I was born, so any excuse to go back.
Well, that helps. I don't know. Right. I know I grew up outside DC, so I have a natural hatred of Dallas. All things Dallas, but
I know next weekend we might be battling a little bit. The Redskins are playing the Cowboys next week.
Yeah, Cowboys are 7-8.
And still in position to win the division.
It's crazy. I can't even believe it.
Yeah,
they could win the division at 50 at 8-8.
Yeah, not a great year for the NFC East. All right,
but I think the first person we met was Charles Getty.
Oh yeah, Business Information Group. That's a great company.
York, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, if you're in the central PA area, that's a good company to look up if you're one of those 90% that not sure what to do or whatever. Yeah. They have a good thing going there. That whole B-Sides event was really cool as well. We met some good folks.
Ken Bechtel, remember him?
Yeah.
He was on our podcast. He gave the keynote at B-Sides in Harrisburg. That's where we met him. And I think I should double check with him, but I think he landed.
Yeah,
I got himself a job now.
I saw something about that.
Because he's such a pioneer. To see him without work was kind of heartbreaking. In Arizona, Rachel Harpley was recruit bit security. Was fun to meet her. Every place there was somebody. Quentin out in San Diego, who I was there. You were I think in the West Coast or East Coast that day.
Yeah, I was in Virginia.
Yeah,
that day.
That was really cool. The HSBC folks.
Oh yeah, those guys are great.
Every place. The Lockton folks. I mean, the Lockton people down in Kansas City. That was a great meeting. Every single week. That was the best part of the entire thing. It was just getting to meet people in every event. You can't possibly maintain friendships with that many people, so that part kind of sucks, but yeah, lots of cool people.
I still have that kind of relationship though.
And Quentin was the most unusual. You have to ask, meaning unusual, like unique. He's just a really cool cat. And Oscar, ask Oscar.
Okay.
Oscar Meeks, our director of technical services, because I put those two in touch. And Oscar called me when we were in Kansas City on our way down to Q39 barbecue. And Oscar's like, what's with this Quentin guy? I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, this guy's hilarious. I love him. But anyway.
I'll have to ask about that. That's fun.
Yeah, Quentin is cool.
So, how many events? 30? Is that what you said?
I don't know.
30 talks?
Yeah, how many?
30 events.
30.
We got 61 potential partners that we're, continuing to work with and figuring out, how it fits and all that kind of stuff. And then 28 barbecue restaurants, 10 weeks. And we had Thanksgiving in the middle there, so it was really 9 weeks over a 10-week period.
Wow. So what was one event that stood out to you the most, either good or bad?
Good event, I think the ICI event in Dallas, it was very different. And he didn't speak at that one. It was like a speed dating kind of thing. Okay. So they got like serious people in the room that, had buying power and were there to evaluate technologies that were specific to their business needs, and got 15 or so companies, vendors of some kind, and then the attendees moved from table to table, and you got kind of a 5-minute what's happening. And it was really cool because it was obvious everybody there had some kind of like technology that they were slinging. And all we did was like just sit and BS with people until they asked us what we did. We're like, we're here for business, right? Yeah. So we do a security assessment, software. And
how many times we were told like twice, I think, in that event that we were the only people that actually asked them what they did. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Yeah. Everybody was there to tell what I have to sell or what I can do for you, rather than like just asking and listening.
Here's what makes us better. Yeah. Versus, what are you looking for? Wow.
I really like the Network Center event because it was me, you, and we brought Justin and Steve with us. That was fun.
Yeah,
Except
for
good. We really pissed you off on the wheel.
Oh, dude. It was so...
You were so mad.
It's Fargo, North Dakota. It's 20 below outside. The wind's blowing sideways, and we have all this equipment to, like, load up. So I pull the car over thinking, like, oh, yeah, everybody will just load it up real quick. No. He is smoking and talking to somebody from Network Center. I end up loading up everything. Then I go back in to, like, grab something. I come out, and I'm informed that I get to drive home, too.
We're all in the car already. The only seat that's open is the driver's seat.
I'm like, I guess I'm driving, huh? Cool. I'll just load the car and drive, and yeah, we'll do that.
That was a tough week, though, because as soon as we got back, we gave the talk in Fargo at Network Center. That was really well attended. They put on a great event every year.
Oh, those are great guys.
It's that Envision conference up there. And the main stage, it was just really cool. Everything was cool. Mm-hmm. And then, that's where Zoe ran into Zoe. Zoe was also on the podcast. So some of the people that we met on the roadshow have been on the podcast, probably 2 or 3 of them. But that next morning, I had like a 5:30, 6 o'clock a.m. flight to Rochester, New York, the next day. So that's why I didn't drive. I mean, that's the excuse I'm going to use for now. But that was a great event. I really like that one. And then I like any place where it was warm.
So the Phoenixes and Southwest.
Orange County, San Diego.
You know what, Phoenix, I spoke at that ISSA event earlier this year. And then you spoke to Ricky, his name is Ricky Martin. No, I'm not kidding. And he's the coolest guy. He's awesome. He organizes all the speakers and a lot of the vendors and everything for that chapter event. It's very well attended. The people are fantastic. We've made some good relationships there. Leanne from the FRSecure team was down there visiting family, and like on her personal time came and to the event and hung out with us. So that was a good one for me.
Okay. We didn't go anywhere in Florida. I'll be at B-Sides in Huntsville, Alabama. But that's not until... I mean, the roadshow's kind of officially done, this chapter anyway.
Yeah, we'll probably go more... I mean, we're, still formulating and everything. We got this kind of 60 body of like 60 partners that we're working with and figuring out, what to do. So there's a lot of just kind of at the office work to do, for a while. But I think, starting in February, we have a couple of events, but most notably is RSA. And that's big, but I think somewhere in between is where we'll kind of end up. There's a lot of good industry events. There's a lot of good kind of regional events. There's ones that we can go to and, speak to a wider audience. And now that we have the message crafted and have some fans out there, it'll be easier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
School stuff and local government stuff, I think, will be fun too.
MNCCC, the Minnesota County Computer Consortium. We had like 22 or 20, I think by the end of the second week, 27 Minnesota counties had signed up for an account and started doing their assessment. That was the most successful from an end user adoption perspective, like a single event in that short a time. Wow, and they're a great group. They're fantastic. We love working with them.
That was fun. That was a good one too. Oh, and there was the Cybersecurity Summit too in St. Paul. I don't know. There were so many damn events, and they were all really, really good. The only one that wasn't good was that Sacramento one because we had a jerk ball.
Yeah.
In the event.
If you think about it, 30 events and you had one that was, kind of ruined by someone. That's pretty good.
Well, it didn't really ruin it either. It was just kind of like, I felt dirty.
Yeah, it's like, dude.
And I felt like a jerk because I called him out.
Gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah.
Last thing I wanted to really talk through is you kind of mentioned it a little bit, John, but what's the one thing you learned that really surprised you out of all of this?
Yeah, other than, it wasn't like I lost faith in our industry or anything, but that whole like, oh wow, yeah, we're really wrapping it around the axle on some weird stuff right now. I think a big surprise to me going out there is sometimes you go to these events, and I've been to some of them, they're like more networking opportunities, and they happen in every walk of life, and people are there to be seen. You know what I mean? And it's kind of like, ugh, right? Not these events. Everybody's there to learn something. Everybody's there to really collaborate and find something that they didn't know before. Everybody's listening intently. Everybody's taking notes. Like, the security community as a whole are very diligent in their need to consume. And I was very impressed and very surprised by that. I thought there would be a little more politics along the way. And, just people that were there to just kind of be seen. No, that's a dedicated group. You almost have to be, we all know you have to be half crazy to be in this business in the first place. So I was pleasantly surprised by that.
Yeah, I think you see a lot of it where everybody's facing very similar challenges from the business perspective. And so you get a lot of, that collaboration and how are you doing this? Because I'm not having any luck. And
it was good validation that, the right people are involved. Do we need to get on the same page, start speaking the same language? Yes. Do we need to work on the fundamentals a little better? Yes. Do we need to be better communicators? Yes. But the fiber of the people that we met is absolutely there. That gives me hope that this is actually doable.
Yeah. What surprised me is that there wasn't more vendors at the events. Because vendors, they sponsor it because that's how they make their money, but they weren't there. None of them. Very few. And so I think what it shows is vendors sponsor these things because it gets their name there. But it shows to me that I guess I was surprised that they didn't participate more. They're paying sponsorships, but they're not participating in the community.
That's interesting.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Because of, I don't know. It's just like I want your money, but I don't want to be.
I don't actually want to contribute anything other than a check.
Right. So that surprised me because. Vendors are, sponsoring all of these things, ISC squared, ISACA, ISSA, B-sides. They're sponsoring all these events. Yet I was surprised how often they didn't participate in the event.
Well, and many times too, you kind of go to like, hey, you're not allowed to sell anything. Mm-hmm. Like, keep the sales pitch out of it, blah, 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 and everything. I think that will sometimes scare people away, but there's never like a counterpoint or another question, that they're not saying like, okay, well then how do I do it? How have you seen this be successful in the past? Rather than just getting like, if you have any questions about whatever, I'm back in the back over here. It's like, what's your mission? Like get beyond the product that you sell and tell me how I can jump on your cause. These people are very, very attuned to that. So, there's even a change in mindset, I think, that the security, vendor and product community needs to have and their ability to contribute. And if they can't, that's another problem, right?
Yeah, I think ties back to what you got feedback from that Dallas event where you guys were the only ones who asked what they did. Right? And that's been my experience too, is any of those events coming up, it's always, here's what we can do for you. Here's what we can do for you. Yeah, but that.
And I don't care if it's a fit or not.
Yeah, that does. Then how does that fit with what we're doing? It doesn't help. And so, yeah, you get told, well, you can't sales pitch, and they're like, well, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And they don't want to send an engineer because they've got work to do.
Yeah, that's one thing I'm very proud of our FRSecure sales team about, is that our questions and our engagements always start with, well, just tell me what's going on. Mm-hmm. Like, what are we doing here? Why are we even talking? And getting to that point where, and you said it 1,000 times, we don't sell things to people that they don't need.
Right.
So we know something that other people don't, and it's a moral obligation to be of service, to be of help. And even our sales team understands that, which is great. That comes from the top. You set that tone early on. But I don't know that a lot of other sales professionals have that, right? They're just out there slinging things. And
right.
That's a crappy existence, I know from experience. But this community in particular will not abide that. We got to take a different approach.
Yeah. That's one of the reasons. Now that you mention that's one of the things I really appreciated about talking with Mike. A potential new salesperson on SecurityStudio. He didn't seem like that at all. Out slinging. He seems like a guy that genuinely cares and wants to help people.
I mean, he understands, like, it's securitystudio.com, not .org, right? I mean, you got to sell things. You have to make money. You have to pay people. It does cost money to make the mission, but it's not worth selling your soul. Right.
Yeah. Awesome. Oh, great discussion. Thank you, John. Evan.
Yeah.
Now it's for some news. So there was a ton. Actually,
you said news?
Some news. So there were a bunch of stories.
I love these stories, man. It was great putting these together. I enjoyed reading them.
Well, and I pulled like 4 out that I was like, because there was one about a logic bomb for a Siemens employee, that former employee left a logic bomb, and I was like, too much. All right. First one is Krebs on security. Ransomware gangs now outing victim businesses that don't pay up. And, kind of not surprising, but kind of sucky. You knew that was going to happen at some point. Mm-hmm. But yeah, they're saying now that the Maze ransomware, if they don't pay up, they're going to start releasing the data they've exfiltrated. And, I mean, this could be pretty devastating to companies, especially if you've got regulatory requirements and, HIPAA fines or whatever coming your way. Mm-hmm. And I can tell you from experience, most of the time when we're doing an IR, we can't tell the company if there was exfiltration or not, because we don't have logs. We don't have anything to look at to tell you this. We can
fundamentals?
Yeah. No. But yeah, it's like, I don't know. We can tell you based on the ransomware or whatever we found that it's possible that it can do it, but I can't tell you one way or the other.
Right. And
now they're sitting there going, well, what do we do?
I am obviously not endorsing this practice in any way, shape, or form. I'm going to qualify it by saying that. I'm not encouraging anybody to do this. I'm not saying it's a good thing, but I am a silver lining guy. So if there's one thing that come out of this, if we can all just accept that when we have ransomware and these things happen, that if we don't declare it, if we don't take ownership and say, here's what happened and here's how maybe if you're in the same situation you can prevent it, here's how the level of importance you should go on to it, that there are going to be consequences. If this ends up being the strike point for actually getting some of this data publicly available, this will probably be one of the most significant events in our industry.
Yeah. Well, and hopefully maybe it starts getting people being more proactive and not putting their head in the sand and going, it won't happen to us. Yeah, that's going to be...
Well, and in this case, if you pay, the data's out anyway.
You got no guarantees.
Right. They can just keep asking for more and more and more and more because they still have your data.
Right.
And what also is going to happen from a regulatory perspective and from a reporting perspective is if you get hit with ransomware, it's a reportable breach. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it changes kind of everything around ransomware.
Yeah.
it also debunks. I know there's a lot of attitude from the business community right now of like, okay, so you get a breach, so what? Like breach fatigue, you know what I mean? Well, now there's real consequences. Now that you can't hide from it. Now you really understand the fallout. And you also are tipped off to the fact that these aren't just idiot criminals half the world away. They're smart. They're business people. They're figuring out a way to force your hand. It's just tactics, right?
Yeah.
So gear up.
Yeah, it's gonna be a wild ride.
Well, it's interesting. You have to rebuild all these networks. You have to rebuild all these networks with whitelist.
Yeah.
You know, egress and ingress. Primarily egress. I mean, if you want to stop the exfiltration. I mean, you're talking like.
Oh, this is a massive undertaking.
It's like some serious work.
Bummer. Yay.
Bummer.
Yeah. All right.
Just delete all your data now.
Yeah. How can I eliminate risk? Shut down.
Yeah.
Next one, Alpha threat pose: 267 million Facebook users' phone numbers exposed online. So
that's it.
You know, shocking. Just be aware that a lot of phishing and spam and SMS phishing attacks now.
We like our cool words. A lot of vishing
and smishing and
vishing. The voice phishing.
Yeah, it's possible. They said it was potentially stolen from a Facebook's developer API before they restricted access to that information. Who knows? But
you know what this reminded me of when I read this morning? You know what I got in the mail this past weekend? A phone book. I've never been more offended in my life. These things still exist. Quit wasting paper. Like, what are we doing here? And
phone book pages work pretty good for starting your
smokers, yeah.
Your smoker.
Yeah. Well, like, you know, people are like, oh my God, my phone number's out there. Like, look, it was always out there. Believe me when I tell you. Like, this is like I saw a tweet. It was like somebody said, hey, if you use facial recognition software, the government has your face, LOL. It's like, whoa, wait till you hear about driver's licenses. You know,
yeah.
Passports, my God.
Yeah. I think, the big one with that is it ties that username. So if there's any non-anonymity, I don't know.
Well, that's the crazy thing too, is we get freaked out about the things that are just like stupid to get freaked out about. But then the things that we should get freaked out about, we're ignorant. Just see, you know,
it's newsworthy, but this didn't get my blood pressure up at all.
The fact it's Facebook,
right?
Yeah, Facebook doesn't care about your privacy.
They haven't been real good.
Freaking Zuckerberg,
secured,
making all that money
data
off of me.
Custodians. But all right, this next one is pretty big. InfoSecurity magazine: Wawa stores plagued by malware since March. We don't have Wawa up here, do we?
I couldn't get over the name. I kept reading Wawa. I kept laughing.
Wawa's awesome.
It was 3:00 in the morning.
I
was like,
Wawa.
Wawa.
Wawa. No, they're like a convenience store, gas station, kind of in the Mid-East, Mid-Atlantic area. But yeah, they discovered malware on the payment processing servers on December 10th, contained by December 12th, which is pretty good. Unfortunately, they can show that it started after March 4th. So they said by April 22nd, malware is thought to have spread to most of their stores. So it was out there for 8 months undetected on their payment processing. So I'm going to guess that's not going to be a fun PCI experience the next time they go through that.
Yeah, don't call me.
Well, and from experience, like just seeing how these things have been done too, I would bet any amount of money that these guys are PCI compliant.
Oh,
I'm doing air quotes. PCI compliant. They have a ROC. It's certified. They've been doing it like clockwork for years and years. And whoever does that ROC is about to get a ton more business because of this. And consulting hours and redoing everything and all that kind of stuff. Maybe it's another firm or whatever. But
it'll be someone else, because we've worked with others that have had a breach and were compliant, and they were not allowed to use that firm, and that firm is now under basically every single rock they put in is under extra scrutiny.
Yeah, I'm sure Trustwaves, all of their rocks are on investigation, and they could care less, is what I'm saying, right?
True.
Another example
They
of
bring in
being
so much money
compliant.
for the council. Right?
Another example of being compliant doesn't have
Yeah.
anything to do with security, unfortunately.
But correct, yeah. It's having seen some of the compliant rocks and sample sizes, and it's like, how do you justify that? That's
Well, yeah. So I mean,
they're not checking things. Oh,
I normally I don't get upset with organizations who have breaches, right? Unless it's like clearly negligent. So I don't know the details of how this happened.
yeah.
But the fact that it was able to sit on critical, so this would be a critical server, right? So a critical server,
Yeah,
you
for
typically
8
have,
months.
better controls, right? Enhanced controls like file integrity monitoring, DLP. I mean, you have something more on it. Process monitoring, whatever. Yeah. And so application whitelisting, I mean, on and on you could put on the server, and the fact that this was sitting there for 9 months.
I mean, we still see it where people are like, well, we don't have endpoint on the servers because it impacts performance.
Which is so old school. This isn't
What is wrong with you?
This isn't 2003 anymore.
No. And where do you think attackers are going to target? Where your sensitive information lives.
So
not on endpoints.
So the fact that they didn't detect it, that for that long is definitely troubling. But then they must have had some sort of incident response plan, because if they found it on the 10th and it was contained on the 12th, at least that's a pretty
they
had that in place.
That's a pretty good containing time. Yeah. I mean, especially for as widespread as it seems to have been.
Yeah.
So was it 800 plus stores, and it was on all of them? So
prevent, detect, correct. Missing on the detect piece, maybe.
Yeah.
But
all right.
Whatever.
Next.
Wah.
The next one.
Wah.
They have good subs. Anyway. Next one is just kind of fun. Just shows that people still suck at passwords. It's off of nakedsecurity.sophos.com. Hello, 123456, my old friend. I've come to talk with you again. The one thing I did like, so I linked to the story and then also to the actual report of the top 50. The one thing I did like on this is the author did take the sites and services to task a little bit, websites to task for, why are you still allowing these to even be valid passwords? Put something in place that validates against the worst 1,000, the worst 10,000, whatever it is, and don't let people use them. So I did I like that approach on this. But
that'll make it inconvenient, and then people.
There's a workaround.
People won't sign up for your.
I know.
Your whiz bang new thing.
But
too difficult for people.
So there was a train of thought that I had about this, and it was somebody else's idea that said, when do we start? I'm trying to remember who it was. It was on the roadshow. Somebody said, when do we start making credentials? When do we start classifying them as classified information?
Confidential.
Right? Like, if you are writing down your password and keeping it anywhere, assume that you're writing down a child's name and a health diagnosis down there. It's that sensitive. You would never stick that in a public. You would never leave somebody's personnel file on an open desk. That's a no-no. That is the law. And people are sticking their passwords or using 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They're not taking this seriously. So how do we start bringing the hammer down on people who are doing this?
Well, using that same analogy, that's like everybody being named Mike Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's like everybody keeps using the same passwords, and we've been teaching passphrases and how to do it.
Yeah. So when people hear that, especially non-security people, they're like, "Well, what do we do? Passphrase here. Do this," and it's like, that works. Yeah,
well, and here's the thing though, right? We can bring the hammer down, and that's usually how it goes. Or we can try to usurp this with technical controls and that kind of thing. But I don't think that there's enough of we're good. We're getting to the point now where we're pretty good, and everybody's going through the training as a group. What do we sit down with people? Like, we have associated with our benefits, like a financial advisor that will come and sit here all day. You can make an appointment, half-hour appointment with him or her, and sit down and hey, here's what my bank account looks like. Here's what I have. What would you do here? And they'll advise you. Why don't we have that for security? Why don't, as a part of
Because
offerings, just go sit down one-on-one, be like, here's how you set up LastPass. Let's look at how your Facebook settings are. Let's look at what your browser settings are doing. Let's look at if your software is updated on your phone. Whatever it is, it's like give people that personal attention until they can grasp these basic things, or maybe even take an interest in some other things. But isn't it always the fundamental things, the basic things that get taken advantage of? People have crappy passwords. They don't lock their computers.
They
They
share
don't have
passwords.
they don't have their computers patched. They don't have their phones up to date. They have all of that stuff.
Well, I think two reasons why. One is it's too costly.
Yeah.
To be able to get people one-on-one, and the second reason is people wouldn't show up.
I think
You try to tell people, you try to help people protect themselves, and they still ignore you.
yeah.
See, I think that's
They're not going to pay
I
for
think
it.
I think if we just made it like, hey, as a part of a virtual CISO engagement, we're going to come in one day a quarter and take half-hour appointments for an 8-hour day, and just anybody who wants to come sit down with us, and let's do it. Right?
It's going to be expensive.
Yeah,
People don't want to. Yeah,
we pay for it through our benefits for a financial advisor.
I know. I never went to see him. How long did he sit there by himself?
Probably a long time.
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
People, even if you
But
make
he
it
had-
free, people are like, whatever.
But he had something to sell us too. He wants us to use his advisory services, right?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
I'm trying to give people the benefit of the
Well,
doubt a little bit. Like maybe they just are reluctant to speak up in public. Maybe we're using words like passphrase, and 90% of people are like, "Oh yeah, that's totally cool," and they're like, right over my head. I don't get that.
I think what happens here is you start to marry. I posted something last week where I said that you can't separate information security, privacy, and safety. Right? They're all together. The way the world works today, they're all integrated with each other. And so I think as people start to realize that more, I think it's going to get worse before it's going to get better.
Well, I think
Then you start tying in
one of the things
like an S2Me with
yeah.
getting money.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I want to get a loan, what's your S2Me score? Or you integrate that with your credit report, right? And then people get forced to it.
That's the way we do it is how we've been doing it, where we're including the S2Me, that personal risk assessment with two companies for their employees, because people are embarrassed, they don't want to do it. But if you can do it a little bit more anonymously, maybe that's where they start getting questions. You start seeing some activity, and now
I'm saying that there are legitimately people out there, because I know them, they're in my family, that if you told them like, hey, your bank password got stolen, you need to go change your password, they would have no idea where to begin.
Yeah.
They don't know how to go into settings, they don't know how to go reset password, they don't know how to change anything, they wouldn't know what to change it to. Just that basic of a thing that we all know how to do 10 times over and have LastPass and have all these things.
My own wife doesn't know how to do some of those things. And then every time she asks me, I'm like, right? I don't want to help you. But,
Yeah.
I don't know, stupid.
All right. Last one, also off of Naked Security from Sophos. And this goes back to something Evan had mentioned, that at some point this is start costing lives. So Twitter trolls are now attacking epileptics with seizure-inducing images. This did happen in 2016 to journalist Kurt Eichenwald, where he sent a seizure-inducing GIF via Twitter. Well, now what we're seeing 3 years later is during National Epilepsy Awareness Month, an army of trolls carried out assaults, taking over the Epilepsy Foundation's Twitter handle and hashtags to attack anybody who's following. And they were sending out pictures with those hashtags that had flashing or strobing lights to targeting people with epilepsy, which, I just don't understand.
Well, that's another example of what we just talked about, where you can't separate information security, privacy, and safety, right? You can use computers now to affect people's. You have been for a while, but now it's going to become so widespread where, it's going to get crazier than this, man. I don't know.
I don't know. And what I've struggled with? Why? What's the point? I don't know something.
Well, yeah, that's one of those things. Like the only sensible answer to a question of why is because they're insane.
Yeah.
There's something not right in people's heads that they would actually do so. This makes me so angry. I can't even begin. This is just so
or it's a POC,
mean-spirited. There's nothing redeeming about this at all.
Or there's a POC behind it. Don't put anything past criminals and the way they can use things to get what they want. I don't know. I don't know the answer, but I think. Excuse me. I think there's more to it than just this.
Yeah.
Eventually.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. Either way. All right.
It pisses me off too.
Yeah, that one bothered me a
Burns me
lot.
up.
All right, that's it. Episode 59 is a wrap. John, thank you again for joining us. Although, like I said, this is the first time I've been here. So
you guys are very welcome, and thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure. I think it's my third time.
Is it really?
yeah.
Can we maybe do the afternoon one of these times, though?
No. No.
It's kind of early in the morning.
Once the day gets
maybe
started.
a little sharper, you know. A little later.
Once the day
I
gets
like
started,
coffee.
you never get a chance to
We-
sit.
We've done a couple on a Friday afternoon, and it's
Well,
always
to
a mess.
be fair, Evan's been here long enough. It's basically afternoon for him.
Yeah, I just had
a
lunch.
regular work day.
Yeah, sure. All right. Thank you to our listeners. Keep the questions and feedback coming. Send things to us by email at unsecurity@protonmail.com. If you're the social type, socialize with us on Twitter. I'm at Brad Nye. Evan is at Evan Francine. John, how do you want people to interact with you?
I'm on Twitter at Harmon John. So my last name first, then my first name last. And then you can always find me on LinkedIn and all that kind of stuff. Unfortunately, Facebook and Instagram are off limits for me. So
Good. Smart. All right. Thank you. Lastly, be sure to follow Security Studio and FRSecure on Twitter for more goodies. And that's it. Talk to you all again next week.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the UNSECURITY podcast. We value our listeners and would love to hear from you. Give us your feedback by emailing us at unsecurity@protonmail.com. That's UNSECURITY@protonmail.com. Be sure to tune in next week to hear the latest insights from Brad and Evan.